Hey, how you doing? I just spent 2 weeks on the road talking to people about headcrabs. I'm just back from filming Project Mesa, which is NoClip's next documentary that's not really about a game, a studio, or how they made a game or any of that stuff. Let me explain. So, I'm working on this documentary called Project Mesa, and the concept behind it was that I wanted to do something to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Half-Life's release, which is coming up on November 19th. My worry was that nobody was going to do anything for it. Valve are in that sort of unenviable position of not really being able to talk about Half-Life because people then are instantly like, where's Half-Life 3, where's Half-Life 3, and all that sort of stuff. But I was hoping that perhaps I'd be able to get them to talk about the development of the game. I reached out to them a bunch of times, nothing really came of it. Instead, I decided to do this other type of documentary where instead of talking about the development of the game, we're talking about the sort of the legacy of the game in the 20 years between its launch and today. So that's what Project Mesa is. It's about the legacy, everything that's happened to the world of games industry and the people around it since Half-Life came out. So we talk about Counter-Strike, we talk about Black Mesa, we talk about Epistle 3 and Project Borealis, we talk about the expansion packs that were made, we talk to designers of games who've been making first-person shooters in the intervening years and what it meant to make games in a post-Half-Life world. So how this sort of like manifested was that I ended up having to spend most of the past 2 weeks flying around America talking to people about the game. It was a lot of fun. I flew to Austin. I kind of used Austin as my base. And then from there drove and flew all over the place. So I drove to Dallas in the pouring rain to talk to Randy Pitchford about creating Half-Life Opposing Force and Half-Life Blue Shift. They also worked on Counter-Strike and a whole bunch of other stuff, including the PlayStation 2 port of Half-Life, which I have it somewhere. I haven't unpacked yet. There's a bunch of stuff in this. There it is, yeah. Talk to him about Counter-Strike. This is Counter-Strike Condition Zero, everyone's favorite Counter-Strike. There we go. PlayStation 2 port of Half-Life 2, and also the Dreamcast port that they helped on a bit. So, talked about all that mess with Randy Pitchford up in Dallas. Then we flew to Los Angeles, where I interviewed Cory Barlog, the studio director over at Sony Santa Monica. Worked on God of War, worked on a narrative first-person game where you have a sidekick AI tagging along the whole time. Sounds a little bit like Half-Life 2 Episode 2. We interviewed Vince Zampella, the creator of Call of Duty and Titanfall, about how design of Half-Life has affected their work. I interviewed Jeff Keighley, who was at Valve during the launch of Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. So he had loads of interesting insight into the sort of the studio culture and what it was like being on the ground while both those games came out. I also interviewed Laura Michette, who ran the Epistle 3 Game Jam. This is the folks who tried to make Episode 3, Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3, based on the Mark Laidlaw blog Epistle 3, which is essentially the script for what Half-Life 3 would have been if it came out, or Episode 3 would have been if it came out. The other side of that is I'm also interviewing the Project Borealis developers. They're the folks who are trying to make Half-Life 2 Episode 3 right now. They're actually based in Maryland, weirdly enough, so I'm interviewing them in like a week's time or so. Then we flew to Phoenix, Arizona, where I talked to my good old friend Scott Smith about Counter-Strike. He was one of the first people playing Counter-Strike on like any sort of pro-am scene and has been involved in the CS community ever since. So he's the perfect person to talk to about how we got from those halcyon days of playing hostage maps to, you know, the crazy world of CSGO weapon skins. We also drove up to Sedona to see some goddamn mesas. I wanted to see some mesas and film some mesas, and the whole, I don't know, there's a whole aspect of this documentary which is about the road trip and about discovery and nostalgia and who owns media and what it means when the creators of media sort of abandon something and the fandom are there left trying to create something out of the ashes. So a big part of that sort of journey of discovery for me was actually going and seeing where that first game was set, or at least, you know, an approximation of it. There's a couple of more things we're filming. I'm going up to NYU to chat to Robert Yang about working on the Black Mesa mod, and also just sort of his like design insights into the level design of those games. But the bulk of our stuff has been filmed, and it's really good to have it here and be back. And after 2 weeks on the road, especially, I think it's really cool to be able to sort of sit down and put my Half-Life stuff back on my Half-Life shelf. I can't reach it. And before you ask, we are attempting to get this done, edited, finished, squared off by November 19th, 2019, which is 2018, not next year, this year, 3 weeks time or so, which is the 20th anniversary of Half-Life coming out. It's the whole point of this thing, is to have a really cool nostalgia trip, like insight, some information about stuff people have not heard of yet, celebration of Half-Life, you know, the legacy of all these games that sort of spun off from it, and I don't know, something for Half-Life fans to sit back and enjoy, because I feel like that's the thing that we don't get to do anymore, is we don't get to celebrate Half-Life because everyone's too worried about Half-Life 3. So, you know, I still have my PC Gamer UK copy of Half-Life, the Half-Life 2 review that I read every now and again, and transport myself back to that time. Or this book, I remember when this book came out, it was like a really cool like resource into the design of the game, and we kind of need that. We need these moments to, you know, rally our fandom around. And I'm sure other people are doing other stuff. You know, there's a big, beautiful Half-Life community out there of news YouTube channels and modders. I mean, Black Mesa is still getting made, Zen is still getting worked on. You know, Project Borealis, animators, like the Source mod people, Gary's mod folks. Like there's a whole community of people out there doing stuff, and I'm sure NoClip will not be the only thing that comes out on November 19th of this year. But I wanted to do my part as one of the only people who runs a crowdfunded video game documentary channel. We're pretty much in a unique position to make something cool. So we're working on it. We're making something cool. If you have any questions about it, please put them in the comments below. This documentary, if you only are on this channel and follow me here, is over on my documentary channel. It's called NoClip, youtube.com/NoClipVideo. It's got like 5 times more subscribers than this channel. And yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Quite frankly, I'm having to go edit now. So thanks so much. Oh, there's a Portal Cube there. God, I'm such a fucking fanboy. Yeah, hope you're keeping well. This documentary is going to be fun. I gotta go work on it. Bye.